Sponsored by Stand Up to All Hate. Call a timeout against hate.
We talked about it yesterday. If it sounded like Raheem Morris was kind of at least considering, or the tone had changed from past weeks about whether or not he was thinking about making a switch at quarterback, it was for good reason, because they announced it yesterday. So Michael Penix Jr. will be the starter moving forward for the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins goes to the bench. And it's really hard to argue with the decision based on how Kirk Cousins has played. Because this isn't, and we laid it out yesterday, it's not like this is he had one bad game, big deal.
No.
This is weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's not getting better. And then on top of that, you've got Kirk Cousins, who doesn't even really know what the problem is. Like, they asked him before the game on Monday night against Vegas and just, hey, where are we at with this? What do you think the struggles are? And he didn't really have an answer for him. He couldn't figure it out. And so I think Raheem Morris probably just looked at this and said, look, this is the direction we're going to go moving forward. We're in a playoff race, but we've got 3 games left, and at least we're going to get to see what the future could look like in Michael Penix Jr. Now, the statement read as follows: after review, we have made the decision Michael Penix will be the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback moving forward. This was a football decision, and we are fully focused on preparing the team for Sunday's game against the New York Giants. I mean...
You heard me give my reasoning yesterday, and I think it was sound reasoning. They're in second place in the NFC South. Tampa Bay looks pretty good. They're actually looking pretty good. So now you're talking about a division that I think you're one game behind me. I know it's they're 8 and their record, and they have 8 wins, and Atlanta has 7 wins.
Yeah,
but I don't know how the whole tiebreakers or how many divisional games. I don't know if it's truly one game behind. I don't know. Maybe it is, but they're close. I think that's the key. And the point I made to you and Pete Prisco yesterday, I think remains sound reasoning today. Kirk Cousins is playing very poorly. I think the stat read. He's got 1 passing touchdown in the last 5 games.
Yeah, and it was Monday night.
He's not taking them in the right direction. You're making a decision now. Keep in mind, you're making a decision off of the heels of a victory, not a loss. It's a victory. You beat the Las Vegas Raiders. So, in making that change, it says to me, do you think that this team is better with a struggling Kirk Cousins and your opportunity to make a season of it with a struggling Kirk Cousins? Or is your top, keep in mind, not a second-round draft pick, not a Tom Brady draft pick type of prospect, not like a Brock Purdy type deal, is your top draft pick quarterback where you're watching other guys out there do really well, which, by the way, bested Bo Nix in college.
Yeah.
He didn't best McCarthy, but he did best Bo Nix. He's sitting there in the wings, and if you're saying our season is on the line and we still have a chance to make the playoffs and have a go at it. If anything, I would say if he is our top draft pick and he has that type of talent that we believe he has, he's had an opportunity to learn, because most of these quarterbacks have not gotten an opportunity. Top draft pick quarterbacks outside of McCarthy getting hurt, they haven't had an opportunity to sit back and just learn. Caleb Williams is getting trial by fire. Jaden Daniels, trial by fire. They're all in there. Bo Nix, these guys are all in there. These top draft picks, they're all playing. And Michael Penix was playing for a national title. So he was just as good as any of the quarterbacks coming out. Maybe a little older, maybe some injury concerns, but nonetheless, he got drafted in a high position. So his competency level should be there just like any of the other guys that are out there getting their feet wet and learning what the game is all about, on-the-job training. So if you don't have any confidence in your top draft pick to go in there now, while the quarterback that's starting is playing the way that he's playing, the only other thing that I could come to a conclusion of outside of you don't believe in him as being your guy, as having the opportunity to be your guy, outside of that, it's the contract that you're paying Kirk Cousins. That would be the only conclusion that I could say, is that you're paying Kirk Cousins too much money, allow for him to try to finish this thing out.
So I guess the contract for Cousins is very tradable after this year.
After this year.
Yeah,
but it is a high money contract, though.
For sure. And I think that one of the reports that came out, Jordan Schultz, who is on FS1 and does some stuff here at Fox, he said that Michael Penix in practice apparently has really impressed a lot of people. Like, that's one of the reports out there, that he's really grown and he looks good from what they've seen in practice. And now he's going to get a couple of games at the end of the season to get a look for the team.
Which I think that's interesting, because if you're not the starter, how are you impressing people in practice? You're just running scout team.
I don't know.
You're running scout team reps.
Who knows?
You're not taking a lot of first team reps, I'll tell you that.
But maybe he's just slinging it around.
You're just impressing people while you're doing scout team.
This is what I thought about too. Okay. And I want to take full accountability for this, and I'll call myself out because I was wrong about something. When they made the decision to draft Michael Penix Jr., and you were on Fox Sports Radio when the decision was made, I was listening to you and Jay Glazer and Rob Stone and company and Steve Keim talk about it, and everybody was surprised by it. When they made the move, I was really, really critical of it, because I thought, you just paid Kirk Cousins all this money. You have needs elsewhere. It's not like you're, one player away from a Super Bowl, but you've got an opportunity to draft the best defensive player in the draft potentially, et cetera, et cetera. Why did you do this?
Or a lineman.
Yeah.
And that's sound. That would be sound reasoning.
Of course. But now, just imagine they're in this spot with the way Kirk Cousins is playing, and they didn't address the quarterback situation.
You got to ride it out, and you got to try to figure it out.
But the thing about it now, when you look back at it, you go, they're not going to be picking anywhere near the top 8 in this year's draft.
Nope.
And it's a down draft for quarterbacks where you've got Shedeur Sanders and you've got Cam Ward. So they're nowhere close to getting one of the top quarterbacks on the board. And last year, one of the reasons it was given reportedly from the Atlanta Falcons was, we don't plan on picking this high in the draft, so it's an opportunity and a rare one for us to draft a quarterback there.
And they weren't planning on playing them.
And they were right. Look, and it's hard to give the Atlanta Falcons credit for a lot, because they've butchered a lot of things. Not big things or anything, just like huge leads in the Super Bowl and hiring Bill Belichick. Nothing at all. But this one, I do think you look back on it and you go, they got it right. Because if they were in a spot right now where Kirk Cousins was playing the way that he was playing, and they had no look into the future at all to what the quarterback position was going to be, what the hell does next year look like?
Yeah, I mean, and he was coming off of an injury, so you don't know what you're going to see once he gets back, how he's going to play. And you get the opportunity, as you mentioned, with that high draft pick. There's a quality guy there. It still comes back to my original point. You get a quality guy, you're going to sit him and give him the opportunity to learn and grow and progress at an organic, speed and pace. But the reality of it is that you have your starter in Kirk Cousins. But the bottom line here is Kirk Cousins is playing so poorly, yet you still have the playoffs and reach in arm's reach. If you believe that Michael Penix is worth the weight of the draft pick that you spent on him, then now you do get instant justification on putting him in. Now, that doesn't mean that this is going to all, now Michael Penix comes in and he sets the world on fire. We don't know how that's going to play out. But nonetheless, you do have a top draft pick and the potential, which you'd have to assume isn't the potential replacement for Kirk Cousins. He was the eventual replacement for Kirk Cousins, and that replacement has now sped up. The time frame of when he was going to take over for Kirk Cousins was probably next season. Kirk Cousins isn't playing well. You got a top draft pick. Give him an opportunity to show why he was a top draft pick.
Agreed.
Take that car right. Yeah, I mean, I'm driving up a hill. I can't get beyond 20, 30 miles per hour going up the hill. I barely can make it up the hill, but I got a brand new car in the garage just sitting there, and I'm not going to drive it. I need to see if this car can outperform this vehicle currently that I have that isn't showing that it can get up to speed or get over the hill and get me home and get me, to wherever I'm going safely when I'm using it. Like, you don't leave that car in the garage. It's a brand new car. I don't want to drive it. I'm going to just keep driving this one. That doesn't make any sense. If you pay good money for this car this vehicle that you just purchased, why would you continue to sit in a vehicle that doesn't seem to be able to get you to where you're trying to go?
Yeah.
So
I
just
think it's
happened
going to
to
be fun to watch, man.
The analogy just
see it.
happened to present itself because, that's what you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is Two Pros and a Cup of Joe here on Fox Sports Radio. LaVar Arrington, Jonas Knox with you. So we are going to have
a GoFundMe page for Jonas to get him a new whip.
Nah, I'm good.
We're going to set it up, y'all.
Yeah, don't even.
Jonas is probably a millionaire, like a multi-millionaire, but let's set up a GoFundMe page anyway because Jonas is not going to buy himself a new vehicle.
I'm loyal.
Let's start
loyal
it
to
up.
a fault. That's what I am.
Hey, listeners out there, let's get a let's get a page started.
Yeah, I'm good.
There you go.
I'm good. Save your money. Spend it on your loved ones for the holidays.
Yeah. Sponsored by Stand Up to All Hate. Call a timeout against hate.